And that's where you drop that classic verse. It's the RAPPERNOYD full scale with me. Exactly. That's the verse. It's a classic verse that got you signed to Tommy Boy Records, who are not mistaken, correct?
Correct. I mean, my peoples are really affiliated with them. AOC, Alchemist, Prodigy, he dropped Return of the Mac. So it's just like, it's like Noyd Inc., my own label being distributed by Koch. Okay. So it's a good platform. I asked P, how they treat you up there, did my homework. And it seemed like a good look to go, you know what I mean? And I had affiliation with some A&Rs up there that I have worked with in the past on Land Speed Records. So it seemed like a good look, so I gave it a try.
One of the voices on that infamous album, certified gold in just 62 days, rated 4.5 mics by The Source, and climbing to number 18 on the Billboard 200, came from someone most listeners never even bothered to look up. He showed up on 4 tracks, made serious noise, and landed a $300,000 deal with Tommy Boy off a single verse alone. But just as the album started gaining real traction, everything flipped. He was suddenly dealing with an attempted murder charge in Queens. His name? Tawan Perry. In the rap scene, they called him Big Noyd. So how does someone contribute to one of hip-hop's most respected albums and still get pushed out of the story before it even fully plays out? This gets wild. Queensbridge houses sit out in Long Island City, right on the western edge of Queens, close enough to the East River that you can catch a clear view of the Manhattan skyline straight from the courtyard on a good day. The place is massive, 96 buildings, each standing 6 stories tall, all shaped like a Y. That design wasn't random either. It was built that way back in 1939, so residents could get more sunlight compared to the usual block layouts. Every building has this signature look, painted red about 4 feet up from the ground, forming a solid stripe that runs across all 96 buildings in the complex. There are 3,142 apartments packed in there, housing around 7,000 people. It's not just big, it's the largest public housing development in all of North America. Tawan Perry grew up right inside those buildings. His mother and Q and Havoc. Muchida's mother were tight, real close, the type where kids move between apartments like it's nothing, no knocking needed. Noyd and Havoc lived in buildings right next to each other, coming up in the same courtyard, sitting on the same benches, running with the same circle every single day. Prodigy, Albert Johnson, came from a different path. He was born in Hempstead, Long Island on November 2nd, 1974, and was diagnosed with sickle cell anemia before he even hit 3 months old. When he turned 10 in 1985, his mother moved him into Queensbridge. That's where things started to shift. He didn't meet Havoc in the projects, though. They linked up in Manhattan at the High School of Art and Design, where both of them were students chasing something bigger. That's where the duo formed, first calling themselves the Poetical Prophets.
During that era, I mean, just being in the studio for the first time, in D&D Studio, which is actually a studio that became famous for rappers being in that studio.
Really?
So that's really like the first time seeing them work together, having and Prodigy work in the studio and work on music and having making beats. Actually, Prodigy was making beats at that time as well.
Really?
And I always been a fan of hip hop, and I always been like write my own rhymes and stuff like that, but never thought about going to the studio like a studio album or recording, studio material.
Definitely.
By July 1991, they were already getting attention with a mention in The Source's unsigned hype column. Then in 1992, they signed with 4th and Broadway Records and rebranded as Mobb Deep. Now things were getting serious. Just a couple buildings away from where Noyd and Havoc were raised, Nasir Jones was moving through the same environment. He went by Nas, and he was putting together something powerful, a project that captured Queensbridge from the inside out, naming real places, real people, real stories. That project would become Illmatic. It dropped on April 19, 1994, and changed everything. Mega, another rapper from Queensbridge, who later got cut from the firm lineup built around Nas, got mentioned on One Love. And Tragedy Gaddafi, who had been representing Queensbridge since the late 80s under the name Intelligent Hoodlum, was still right there in the mix, holding his place in the neighborhood. The building numbers all blended together. Everybody knew everybody out there. Tawan Perry wasn't part of those studio sessions at all. By most accounts from that time, he wasn't even trying to chase a rap career like that. While Prodigy and Havoc were in Manhattan at the High School of Art and Design, pushing demos and trying to get label attention, Noyd stayed rooted in Queensbridge. That was his zone, his focus, his day-to-day reality.
Okay. And that one right there just definitely defines who I am, like where I come from. I'm straight from the gutter, you know what I mean? QB's finest, you know what I mean? So it's posted on the block. It's just for my thuns that's like still struggling, you know what I mean? Still going through it, and I'm holding it down for them, you know what I mean? Like they don't rap, so that I'm speaking the words for them, you know what I mean? And that's who we are. Until we up out that ghetto, we posted on the block, like what?
When Mobb Deep dropped Juvenile Hell on April 13th, 1993 through 4th and Broadway, they brought him in for one track. Stomp him out? That moment marked his first time ever recording. And he didn't do it for fame or a deal. He stepped in because Prodigy and Havoc were his people. To him, music and street life were two completely different lanes, and the streets had his full attention at the time. What really made Prodigy realize Noyd had something serious wasn't what happened in the studio. It was what was happening outside on the block. Noyd had this one rhyme he would spit in the Queensbridge courtyard, just letting it fly in front of whoever was around. Prodigy talked about it years later while reflecting on the infamous. That same verse Noyd kept repeating outside had the whole block reacting every single time. He'd spit it, and instantly people would feel it. No gimmicks, no punchline tricks, just raw delivery that connected every time he opened his mouth.
During making that album, that's why my first album was it's supposed to have been an LP. It was actually turned out only to be an EP, because I actually went to jail during the time I was making that album.
Right.
Right, I got locked up.
Havoc remembered hearing Noyd for the first time with that same energy, that same realization. This wasn't just some random friend jumping on a track without skill. As he put it, "This is a diamond in the rough right here. He's not your average homie jumping on a record that don't really have that many skills. He brought energy to the record." Still, getting Noyd to fully step into the studio and take music seriously, that was a whole different challenge. He already had money coming in from somewhere else, so music wasn't his priority. Prodigy and Havoc kept pushing him though, pulling him closer, really trying to convince him this was worth it. After a while, Noyd finally stepped up to the mic and delivered his verse completely a cappella. No beat, no background, just raw bars exactly how he used to spit them outside. That recording turned into the Just Step Prelude, and from there, they placed him on Give Up the Goods too. The sessions for the infamous stretched from January 1994 all the way to February 1995. They moved through 4 different studios across New York City: Battery Studios, Platinum Island, Firehouse Studios, and Unique Recording. But the real foundation started in Havoc's apartment in Queensbridge, where he was crafting beats on a simple 4-track setup before taking them into professional spaces.
This is our time for us to be together and be with P while he get in there. And P is a strong dude, so when he get in, he gonna be out, he gonna hold it down. You know what I mean? And hopefully, him being in there, you gotta take something positive out of it. So right. some hopefully him eating well, or just getting his proper rest. And, not being in the streets drinking and smoking, he come out a better dude. But that's my P gonna hold it down. You already know, done.
Free P, yo.
Word up, free P, yo.
Shout out to you.
Make sure you come out, check out Rappin' Noyd, man, because I'm killing the shows.
All of this was happening while Nas was finishing Illmatic nearby. Havoc later admitted that seeing the level of detail and real-life storytelling Nas brought pushed them to match that intensity in their own way. Big Noyd ended up appearing on 4 tracks: Right Back at You, Party Over, Just Step Prelude, and Give Up the Goods, Just Step. That last one became the single, Give Up the Goods. It was produced by Q-Tip, making it the only track on the album not handled by Havoc. That alone gave it a different energy. Q-Tip's production opened things up, adding space and a smoother feel compared to the darker, tighter sound across the rest of the project. Most of the album's beats felt intentionally closed in, almost suffocating at times. But Give Up the Goods stood out immediately. You could hear a slight A-Tribe called Quest vibe in the instrumental, thanks to Q-Tip's touch. But when Noyd came in, it snapped right back to Queensbridge. His delivery was sharp, straight to the point, like something practiced over and over on a bench outside late at night, with no room for mistakes.
I just built my own studio out in Queens, so that's a good thing, you know what I mean? And producers that I mess with, like my man Rick Rude that I mentioned earlier,
Right.
we trying to get him out there with like using my connects that I got in the game.
Right.
I know Ghost, I know Little Fame, you know what I mean? I know Raekwon, and get some of his beats to them type of artists,
Yeah.
and then bring it up on our label. You know what I mean? Noyd Inc. and take it off the ground to the top.
Tommy Boy Records stepped in with a $300,000 deal for someone who had been out in Queensbridge just a few years earlier, not even thinking about the music industry. That kind of money was serious. Life-changing, no question. Havoc and Prodigy had actually pulled it off. They did exactly what they said they would do. Noyd's verse hit hard enough to grab a major label's attention. That's the verse, the one that got him signed to Tommy Boy, and they clearly saw something real in it, no doubt about that. The infamous dropped on April 25th, 1995, and it made noise right away. It climbed to number 18 on the Billboard 200 and reached number 3 on the top R&B/hip-hop albums chart. The Source gave it 4.5 mics, and Rolling Stone's Chio H. Coker called it a darkly nihilistic masterpiece. By June 26th, just 62 days later, it was already certified gold. The album still gets mentioned alongside Illmatic and Enter the Wu-Tang, 36 Chambers, as one of the key East Coast hip-hop records of the 90s.
First time in Paris.
First time in Paris. Not only that,
When was that?
98, maybe 98. Place where you sit down and watch a performance, and everybody stood up the whole time. But it was more of after the show, and the people that we got to meet, it was telling us like, you know, you guys are our brothers. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it was even kind of hard for them, the language barrier, but you could feel it. You could tell they was trying to say like, you know, no, it's not about the music. Like, we could tell you guys are authentic, and you guys are just like us, and we love you guys.
Big Noyd's name was right there on it, but things took a sharp turn. Sometime in 1995, Tawan Perry was arrested in connection with a shooting in Queensbridge, facing an attempted murder charge. Whatever led up to it, situations like that in the projects weren't rare. They came from close quarters, long-standing issues, and tension that had nothing to do with music. Everything happened fast. Noyd was locked up before the industry machine behind his $300,000 deal even had a chance to move. The opportunity was there, but it stalled out almost instantly. Tommy Boy still had a contract to work with, though. Havoc and an A&R from the label went through whatever material Noyd had already recorded, trying to piece something together. But there just wasn't enough for a full album the way they originally planned. What finally dropped on September 16, 1996, landed somewhere between an EP and a full project. 9 tracks, all produced by Havoc. It wasn't the full rollout they might have imagined, but it was what they could build from what was left behind. Prodigy made sure to show up, keeping that Queensbridge connection alive through it all. They called the project Episodes of a Hustler. It managed to reach number 59 on the top R&B/hip-hop albums chart, and underground hip-hop outlets took notice, pointing out the raw talent all over it. But there was a major gap. No tour, no in-store appearances, no interviews, nothing. The artist behind it was locked up, completely absent from his own debut. Critics reviewed the album without ever speaking to him, and it charted at a position he wouldn't even hear about until it was already off the list. Then on November 19, 1996, just 2 months after Episodes of a Hustler dropped with no promotion, Mobb Deep came back with Hell on Earth. That album hit number 6 on the Billboard 200 and went gold again. Tracks like Animal Instinct and G.O.D. Part 3, along with a Nas feature, pushed their sound even further, building on what the infamous had already set in motion. Big Noyd still had a presence on Hell on Earth too. His verses were recorded before everything went down. But once again, when it came time to promote the album, he wasn't there to be part of it. In a 2008 interview with Rap Reviews, Big Noyd broke it down straight. His Tommy Boy advance was actually $350,000, one of the bigger solo deals in independent hip-hop at that time. Then he got locked up. The label took whatever material existed, shaped it into a project, and released it without him. By the time he came home, everything had already moved on. The deal was finished, and Tommy Boy wasn't trying to take any more losses. The money had been spent in ways he didn't expect, and there was nothing left to build from. Episodes of A Hustler had peaked at 59 with no artist around to push it, and when Noyd got out, there was no machine waiting for him anymore. The opportunity had already passed. Even after all that, the personal ties didn't disappear. His mother and Havoc's mother were still close, keeping that connection alive beyond everything that happened. He was still calling Prodigy's mother Auntie. That bond never changed, no matter what the label did or didn't do. But everything else? That shifted completely. The business side, the label connection, the promotional push that once existed, all of that faded away, even though it had started from a single verse he laid down years earlier. Coming home to that reality became his new starting point. Then in 2000, Prodigy launched Infamous Records, and Noyd signed on. It gave him a way back into music without relying on the same kind of major label system that had already let him down once. His second solo album, Only the Strong, dropped on September 23, 2003, 7 years after his debut. It came out through Landspeed Records, with production from Havoc and The Alchemist, and even a Prodigy feature on it. Hip Hop DX reviewed the project and pointed out that the Queensbridge sound and legacy were still fully there. The album found support in underground circles, but by 2003, the mainstream had already shifted in a big way. Cash Money was running the radio. Jay-Z had dropped The Blueprint in 2001 and moved 2 million copies in its first week, and Eminem's The Eminem Show in 2002 sold 7.5 million units in the US alone. That raw Queensbridge street sound that dominated in 1995 just wasn't driving the mainstream anymore. Even Mobb Deep had already passed their commercial peak before Only the Strong arrived. Back in 1999, Murda Music, with tracks like Quiet Storm and the Nas collaboration, It's Mine, hit number 3 on the Billboard 200, marking their high point. By 2003, they were operating more in that respected underground lane, and that's exactly the space Noyd was stepping back into. In 2010, he dropped Queen's Chronicle, continuing to tell his story. Then in 2014, he sat down with Uncut and described Queensbridge from the perspective of someone who truly lived it, not just someone looking in from the outside. Queensbridge is a big place, man. It's one project, but it's like a borough. That's how he described it, and he meant it. He spoke on growing up moving through different sections, clashing with other crews, jumping into rap battles, chasing girls, just living everyday life in a place that had its own rules and rhythm. And no matter what happened with music, he made it clear. His bond with Prodigy and Havoc went deeper than that. He said even without rap, he'd still be at their homes for Thanksgiving and New Year's like family. By the summer of 2017, the Art of Rap Tour was traveling across the country, bringing together major East Coast names. Ice-T put the lineup together. Ghostface Killah, Onyx, KRS-One, and Mobb Deep were all part of it. Prodigy had been dealing with sickle cell anemia his entire life, diagnosed when he was just a baby, and it shaped how he saw everything around him. On You Can Never Feel My Pain from his 2000 album HNIC, he spoke openly about the constant physical struggle he lived with. Then in Las Vegas, during the tour, the extreme summer heat made things worse during a fan meet and greet. His condition flared up, and he had to be admitted to Spring Valley Medical Center. Just 2 days later, on June 20th, 2017, hospital staff found him unresponsive. Reports stated that he had choked on an egg while receiving treatment during a sickle cell crisis. Afterward, his family filed a lawsuit against the hospital, alleging serious failures in care. They claimed staff didn't maintain proper IV access and failed to consistently monitor his oxygen levels as doctors had ordered, issues they believe kept anyone from reacting in time. Albert Prodigy Johnson was only 42 years old. Tawan Perry had known Albert Johnson since they were both coming up inside those same 96 Y-shaped buildings in Queensbridge, Long Island City. Their history wasn't industry-made. It started way before that, and they'd been recording together since 1993. When Perry got locked up and his debut had to be put together without him, it was Prodigy and Havoc who stepped in and made sure the project still saw the light of day. And when the Tommy Boy deal ran out and that commercial window slammed shut, Prodigy brought him right back in through Infamous Records. No hesitation. Then in 2017, after Prodigy passed, Big Noyd still showed up on the posthumous album The Hegelian Dialectic, The Book of Heroin, on a track called Flirting with Death. And that title says everything it needs to say. Havoc kept the movement going after June 2017, performing the Mobb Deep catalog under the group's name. And Big Noyd was right there beside him. He steps on stage in front of crowds who came for the infamous Hell on Earth, Murder Music, and delivers the same verses Prodigy once did, keeping that sound alive in real time. That's what makes this story hit different. The same guy who had to be pulled into the studio, who recorded his verse a cappella just like he used to spit it outside on Queensbridge benches, who signed a $300,000 deal before everything flipped, he's now one of the ones carrying the legacy forward. In a 2014 Uncut interview, Big Noyd said it straight. Even if music wasn't involved, he'd still be at Prodigy's house for Thanksgiving or New Year's, still calling his mom Auntie, because their families were connected beyond rap. This was always deeper than music, and it still is. If this story hit you, don't hold back. Smash that like button, tap hype on this video, drop a comment, share it with someone who really knows hip-hop, and subscribe for more real, unfiltered stories like this.